Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video. And sometimes when you're playing a game of Hearthstone and a card comes down, aren't there sometimes where you're like, wow, that seems awfully familiar, and then you realize, wait a minute, this card used to be a legendary, and this card used to be insane. Why is it a common or a rare or something like that? So today I thought I'd go over 10 legendary cards that have been power crept in the game, either by like a rare, a common, an epic, and yeah, just basically cards that aren't legendary that are either better than the prior version that's legendary or have aspects that are better. Maybe they're not entirely better, they might be more situational, but overall they at least share some aspects of a card that used to be legendary and now it's just attached to a common, a rare, or an epic. So starting off at number 10, we have Mask of Cthulhu, a mage spell. It's 7 mana and it deals 10 damage, but this effect used to have to pay a lot of mana for. It used to be attached to Rafam. Rafam was a legendary during the League of Explorers. It was a 9 mana 7/8. You had to pay 9 mana for a 7/8 minion, so imagine that, that's bad enough. But on top of that, one of the rewards, there was other rewards for it, but one of them was a 10 mana spell that would deal 10 damage randomly. So not only do you have to pay a 9 mana 7/8, you got your payoff was a 10 mana version of Mask of Cthulhu. And honestly, Mask of Cthulhu, although it does see play in Spellmage, isn't the most spectacular card in the world. It's not insane or anything like that. And well, you used to have to pay 10 mana for it. And well, Rafam literally never saw any play. So I guess you can understand why that happened. At number 9, we have a mage card. They're actually both mage cards. We have Dragon Caster, which power crept on Ink Master Solia. Dragon Caster is a 6 mana 4/4. And if you're holding a dragon, your next spell you cast this turn costs 0, whereas Ink Master Solia had the same effect, but it cost 1 mana more and it required your entire deck to be singleton. You couldn't run duplicates, so the requirement was more strict and it was more expensive. And ironically, Dragon Caster ended up getting nerfed to be Ink Master's cost. We'll still tend to run Dragon Caster anyways. It was just a strictly better card almost entirely, unless I guess you didn't want to run dragons at all. But with all the Gracie dragons for, well, since this card's come out in Mage, it just never made sense and was kind of one of the more egregious examples. At number 8, we have a Necromechanic for Hunter. It's like a 4 mana 3/5. I think it got buffed, or 4 mana 3/6. Originally it was 5 mana. They actually had to buff this card, and you compare it to the neutral legendary Baron Rivendare, both your death rattles would activate twice. So this power crept on a neutral card, which you know, it's fine, I guess. It's a class card, I guess, but it's a non-legendary, so you could run 2 of these and it still wasn't ever that great. But neither was Baron. Baron saw Fringe play death rattle deck. Necromechanic saw play in Fringe death rattle hunter decks, and overall it's a Fringe card. It's like the card of power creep, not too egregious, but definitely an example of some power creep. Next we have a very recent example. It's kind of the inspiration to this list, to be honest with you, and that's Stealer of Souls, the 4 mana 2/6 demon that after you basically it gives you a blood bloom effect on every card you draw forever and ever until it dies. And we know the whole thing's the immune, and we've talked to death about it, but it basically power crept on Cho'Gall, which was a 7 mana legendary, so 3 times the cost. It's a legendary, and the next spell you cast this turn costs health instead of mana. So you got to cheat 1 card out. It's only a spell, and that's it. For a legendary, we cut the cost in half. We put a demon tag on it, so it can be 2 to resense demons, and it's a rare, and we have Stealer of Souls. So you can see why maybe this card is a little bit problematic and a little bit silly. I know Cho'Gall never saw any play, was pretty awful, but at the same time, yikes, that is some serious power creep. Next we have Winged Guardian and Evasive Draconid. Either one of these cards, they're immune, they can't be targetable taunts. One's a druid card, one's a neutral, one is reborn, and then you have Sogoth the Slitherer, 9 mana 5/9 untargetable taunt neutral. Just an unbelievable piece of garbage compared to these 2 insanely better cards, especially Winged Guardian. It's a beast, it's got Reborn, it was pretty good in like some embiggen decks, some mana cheat decks, some big druids, and even Evasive Draconoid saw play. The card was pretty good. Also power crept on poor old War Golem. But overall, Sogoth just never got the respect it deserves, and honestly, you could buff that card probably to 7 mana and it still wouldn't see play. So Sogoth was definitely overcosted for its effect, and they ended up remedying later, although on some, you know, not so legendary minions. Next, we have one that's actually, the next two are kind of a bit of a stretch, I guess, but not really. They're both weapons that kind of power crept hero card versions of weapons. So first, we have Flame Reaper, weapon for Demon Hunter. It's 7 mana 4/3, and it also damages the minions next to whomever your hero attacks. So it's like a big cleave effect. But this used to cost 8 mana, and it was attached to Garrosh, the Death Knight. You would get, I believe, you would get this weapon with it as well. The thing is, you know, you would also get that insane upgradable hero power, or not upgraded hero power. It's just a whirlwind, infinite whirlwind. I never really saw much play. I like the card, it's cool. Never saw much play, and you got 5 armor, so a little bit better, but it was a legendary effect, and you know, it wasn't that great. In Flame Reaper, I don't know if I ever saw a Demon Hunter run it, but yeah, it's kind of power creep, right? We'll go with that. I think that qualifies. At number 4, we have another similar thing, except these are both in Paladin. We have Libram of Judgment, 7 mana 5/3 weapon, but if you corrupt it, you get lifesteal on top of it. You know this isn't very hard to corrupt with all the Libram discounters, but this kind of power crept on the Uther hero card, which would give you the same weapon, and we give you lifesteal and all that. You didn't have to corrupt it or anything. You got the new hero power of the Horsemen, where if you summon 4 of them, you get Exodia plus their 2/2. So there is some good upside to that in comparison to it, but again, you know, this is, you could run 2 of them. It's easier. You can make this cost like 1 mana or less with all your Libram discounters, or you bounce one or something like that. Kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, I kind of get it. Kind of is what it is. But trust me, the last 3 are definite ridiculous instances of power creep. So first, at number 3, we have Animated Broomstick, the 1 mana common. Give every minion on the board rush with the battle cry. It's a battle cry. And you compare that to the Hunter Legendary of Houndmaster Shaw. Your other minions have rush. It's a constant effect. It's not a battle cry, so it can be, you know, used as it survives for more turns, giving things more rush or whatever. But still, 4 mana legendary minion compared to this little broomstick, 1 mana, effectively pretty much the same thing, because Houndmaster rarely ever lived. You could kind of cube it back in the old days with like Cube Hunter, but my goodness, this is one of the most egregious cases of power creep where I still can't believe a 1-drop has this powerful ability, because Houndmaster Shaw ain't a bad card. It was a pretty darn good card, and now, well, just a neutral comment has that same effect for the most part. At number 2, we have Priestess of Fury, the Demon Hunter demon. Originally, I believe 7 mana 6/7, got nerfed to 6/5. At the end of your turn, deal 6 damage randomly split amongst all enemies. So 7 mana, deal 6 damage. It can attack as a demon tag. You can cheat it out, and then you have Ragnaros the Fire Lord. Costs 1 more mana, dealt 2 more damage, but arguably you would argue that it was worse because it was only 8 to 1 shot. Although don't tell Solom that, because he keeps hitting me the face with it and killing me in our series over on his channel. But overall, it was just like, you're like, this rare for Demon Hunter seemed to be strictly better than Ragnaros, the way he could cheat it out, and it can attack. It doesn't have the downside of not being able to attack. If this thing lives, not only does it deal 6 random damage, it can hit face for another 6. It was ridiculous, especially when it was unnerfed, and it was like, how is this allowed? How could Demon Hunter have a card that power creeps on Ragnaros? That can't happen. And well, they nerfed it so it doesn't happen again, except wait till number 1, it probably happens again. But before we get to number 1, I have 3 honorable mentions that I want to go over. First being a priest card that power crept on the Priest Legendary, Sethic Veilweaver, pretty much power crept on Lyra the Sun Shard, although the spells have to be targeted. It's not just any spell like Lyra, you just cast any spell, you get a random spell, but it's not that hard to do in Priest to target. You can set things up, manipulate it, and it's potentially infinite value attached to a 2-drop compared to a legendary 5-drop for Priest. It's a little bit silly. The card's a little bit absurd, but I kept it off the list because that condition is pretty relevant a lot of the time. Efficient Octobot, a common for a rogue. It's a 2 mana 1/4. After it takes damage, your hand is cheaper. Everything in your hand's 1 cheaper. Compare this to Emperor Thorson. This used to be a 6 mana effect, although it would continuously on-go if it survived, which it never does. But again, you didn't have to frenzy it either, so there's kind of different variants, different restrictions, but overall, Efficient Octobot, I'd probably run it in my deck over Emperor Thorson any day. You just need to ping it with anything. An Og Merchant, a Pen Flinger, a Backstab, whatever. It's pretty ridiculous, but I didn't put it on the list because, I don't know, random reasons. I like random, right? And the last honorable mention is Dragon Moss Skystalker. Power crept pretty hard on Cairn. Had the dragon tag on it, arguably the better stat distribution, until Cairn was buffed to a 5/5. Originally, Cairn had, like, they both had 9 on each, like, 18 stats total, right? 9/9, you have 11 and 7, but it ended up being, you know, now Cairn's just better, so it's not on the list. But for a while, I used to just call Dragon Moss Skystalker Power Crept Cairn, and it was just a common. This is a common dragon. It's just kind of silly. So, what is number one? What is the most ridiculous power creep example over a legendary card in? Well, I gotta go with Illidari Inquisitor, because yes, Demon Hunter power crept Ragnaros twice. You could argue it power crept King Crush as well. Two different legendaries. Two legendaries in one with this guy, because Illidari Inquisitor is an 8-mana 8/8 that can go face, and it can attack, and it has rush. It can hit twice a turn. One of the most ridiculous cards ever. It's got the demon tag on it, so you can cheat it out sooner. You can resummon it with N'Zoth, and it's a powerhouse in Death Rattle Demon Hunter, and basically any mid-range Demon Hunter deck. And yeah, you combine the best parts of King Rush and Ragnaros. It's pretty ridiculous. And well, there's the great debate. Which is it? Is it King Rush or is it Green Rag? In my opinion, it's King Rush. In some people, it's Green Rag. So let me know in the comments below, what is this card called? And let me know which examples are wrong, what other examples you want to include. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day. And stay salty, my friends.